And check out the most entertaining dental office in America. That is Aesthetic Family Dental in Arizona. They have been social media stars for 3 years now. Now, in full disclosure, this audio was actually not from them. It was created back in 2007 by the artist Snubby J using PVC pipes, but TikTokers have been recreating it with rolls of wrapping paper ever since. It cracked me up and I wanted to share it with you. How awesome was that? Thanks so much for joining us here on Dollars and Cents. I'm Heather Sullivan. We have a lot of great stories that are going to help you save money, cut costs, and get ahead financially as we approach the new year. So up first today, gift returns. More retailers are charging return fees and shortening that return window. So I'm going to show you how to avoid the fees and get the most for your returns. Are you starting to feel the pressure mounting for holiday debt? Well, we're going to break down strategies to help you pay it off fast. Speaking of debt, medical debt is crushing many Americans. How a woman dying of cancer made it her last wish to pay off other people's medical debt. And it is a very moving story you'll want to see. And we're going to go inside a holiday home showcase to see how top designers shared their holiday spirit and ideas that you can bring to your own home. So now that you've unwrapped the presents, maybe you got something that wasn't quite right and you're thinking of returning it. But beware, because more stores are adding return fees and they're shortening the return windows. So I rounded up what you need to know before you go. Ready to return gifts that weren't quite right? Consumer World's Return Policy Survey found more stores adding return by mail fees.
TJ Maxx and Marshalls raised their fee by $1, so it's now $11.99. Macy's has added a $9.99 mail-in fee if you're not a member of their loyalty plan. So obviously it's a free plan. Go sign up for it so you don't have to pay that fee.
Return tracking company Narvar reports 40% of retailers now charge return fees. And fashion reselling platforms Poshmark and RealReal report increases in clothing being sold with tags still on as consumers look to recoup what they paid. Consumer World also says more retailers are shortening their return time limits. It says Macy's toy returns went from 90 days to 30, and Walmart now only takes major appliances back within 2 days.
Amazon, for example, in past years, you could buy something in October and return it until the end of January. This year, the Amazon return window only begins on November 1st.
While many retailers sell returns to liquidators who resell them to the public at discount, return software company Optoro estimates 5.8 billion pounds of returns end up in landfills every year. That has launched some newer businesses that divert those returns from landfills and resell them.
We work with some of the largest retailers on taking their returns, diverting them from landfill. They come into our facilities where our team does quality and condition checking.
Rebel Stork sells returned baby gear online.
80% of the product that is returned is unused, so it's brand new product at up to 80% off of regular price.
Turning what may have been a returned holiday gift into the gift of savings for someone else. So here are some great return tips from Consumer World. If the retailer charges that return by mail fee, return the item in a local store where it's free. Have the receipt or the gift receipt and return the item in unopened packaging. If you don't have a receipt, you can also use a credit card statement, and some stores can even look up the purchase on your credit card. And you want to be sure that you return it before the store's deadline. Now, without the receipt, you may get store credit, you may get the lowest price that the item recently sold for, or you may get no return at all. But I've put links to Consumer World's roundup of the latest return policies. It's all on Sullivan Smart Sense on Fox26Houston.com. So, did you stick to your holiday budget? How'd you do this year? Better than average, I hope, because buy now, pay later programs, which help delay payments, but they can also spell a little bit of trouble for next year. According to Bankrate, people aren't saving as much money as they did in the pandemic, and holiday debt could come back to haunt some folks if the job market worsens. Data shows that buy now, pay later use is up 40% from last year. Financial experts worry that people using these services may trick themselves into spending too much money, and those bills are going to come due every month. They're right around the corner. And if you're already feeling kind of buried in holiday debt, a lot of people are, now's really a great time to start making a plan to start paying it off. You will feel better once you have a plan. So Fox's Dana Fowle does a great job of breaking down your debt payoff options.
Just like a lot of us, I love gift giving. I'm sure you do too. And I already know an only child somewhere who's already got a lot of gifts under the tree. But all of those gifts come with a price tag. You got to pay that back at some point, don't you? Last year's average credit card debt was more than $5,500, and much of that can get piled on around the holidays. Think about that as you rush through those stores, filling carts last minute. But you will spend, that's a fact. So in your downtime, go ahead and plan your payoff strategies for 2024. Write down your credit card balances, then pay them off by using either the snowball method or the avalanche method. Pay minimum amounts on all your cards, but setting aside one for a bigger payment so you can get it down more quickly. The avalanche method is the most money-saving way and probably what a financier is going to tell you to do. That can mean paying down the card with the highest interest rate first, or you got to know who you are. I prefer something called the snowball method. It's about instant gratification. Pay the smallest tab first so you can pay it off the most quickly and you can see progress. Lastly, no more charging until those debts get down, and set a goal. Let's say you have gotten rid of $1,000 in credit card debt. Give yourself a treat. Brains need that kind of thing to keep us going. We like to be rewarded for this kind of stuff. Just don't go over your budget when you do that.
Love her advice. Well, the holiday season comes with some additional baggage, as in garbage bags. We all create more trash this time of year, whether it's from shopping, more food waste, and of course all of that wrapping paper and greeting cards. Fox News correspondent Christina Coleman has some great ways that we can cut that down and celebrate sustainably.
Opening all those holiday gifts can be fun and exciting, but it can also be harmful to our planet. Studies show Americans throw out nearly 3 billion more pounds of trash the week of the holidays than any other time of the year. And the biggest contributor, wrapping paper, with about half the amount produced annually tossed in the trash. Sarah Blunt with the National Environmental Education Foundation says as folks are tearing into their presents, it's important to keep in mind the 4 R's of sustainability. Reduce.
I would suggest considering an alternative to traditional wrapping paper just to reduce your use overall. If you have a pretty piece of fabric like a tablecloth or a scarf or a fabric bag, consider using them creatively but still attractively to wrap your present.
Reuse.
Reuse a single piece of wrapping paper for as many holiday seasons as possible. So over time, it might be folded to fit a smaller object or bring in a strip of more reused wrapping paper to make it fit something larger.
Recycle.
Recycling rules are going to vary depending on where you live. Glossy and plain wrapping paper can be recycled.
And rot.
Check out your municipality's website to see if they have a compost program.
And it's not just gift wrap. Food waste, gift toppers, and greeting cards contribute to crowded landfills. There are also smaller steps you can take, like having a bag on hand to collect recyclable wrapping paper and another for bows and ribbons.
It saves time and money when the next holiday season comes around and you've already got all those supplies at hand.
Our mailboxes and mantles get jammed with holiday greeting cards. Blunt suggests tearing off the decorative front and reusing it as a gift tag the following year. Another way to reduce landfill space, make sure you recycle your tree.
Many communities in the U.S. offer curbside pickup of the trees. You just need to make sure you remove all the decorations, where then the city will break down the tree and use it for something else.
Don't like something you got? You're not alone. Returning items like unwanted gifts added to more than 9 billion pounds to landfills last year. Blunt suggests regifting or donating those items. In Los Angeles, Christina Coleman, Fox News.
Great tips, and let's keep that theme going, because if you have a live Christmas tree in your home, maybe it's been there a few weeks, it's probably starting to get kind of dry, huh? Well, the Houston Fire Department is reminding you of the dangers of dried out Christmas trees, and the city's Solid Waste Management Department has opened its live Christmas tree recycling program. You can safely discard your tree on the curb or at 23 Houston drop-off locations. The trees get turned into mulch, so they go to pretty good use. And putting this show together, I actually came across some great uses for Christmas trees that are being done in some other parts of the country. So this first one I want to show you is in Florida, where Fox's Kimberly Quizon shows us how the Wildlife Center of Southwest Florida is using old Christmas trees to help out some critters.
Oftentimes you have to get up close.
Just look right in there.
To find the screech owl hiding in the branches of this Christmas tree.
It's like they instantly knew what they were supposed to do, and it's something different for them. So it's a win and a joy all across the board.
Christmas may be over, but at the Wildlife Center of Southwest Florida, it still smells like a winter wonderland. Old Christmas trees are taking on a new purpose for screech owls and squirrels.
To making it as natural as possible is key, and it's almost like they never left home. Within seconds, they plopped into the tree and found their own space.
The Christmas trees act as another tool for the rescued wildlife and also provide animal enrichment.
Really give them something to do, so they're in there foraging on the needles and the little nuts that are still attached.
Before you consider donating, all ornaments and tinsel must be removed. Each tree helps rescued animals get closer to their goal of being released.
The Christmas trees, we'll use them until all the needles fall off and they start to die, and then we'll use the base of the tree for perching as well. So we are recycling the tree as a whole instead of just sitting at the curb and letting it decompose. We want to recycle as much of it as possible.
In Venice, Kimberly Quizon, Fox News.
I love that, and I love this too. This is one more great use for Christmas trees. The farm at Aubrey Arboretum in Germantown, that's in the Philadelphia area, it's holding its 5th annual tree cycle event. The trees not only become a favorite snack for all these goats, but anything left over is then turned into wood chips, and it's used to cover trails around the city. So some other good uses for trees. Okay, did you fly anywhere over the holidays? Who could forget last year when 2 million Southwest airline travelers were stranded because 17,000 flights were canceled? Well, now Southwest has to pay $140 million for failing to upgrade its scheduling software. It's giving $90 million in travel vouchers to passengers who were delayed more than 3 hours, and it has already refunded $600 million to other passengers. Southwest has also announced some upgrades to its scheduling and de-icing technology. So Fox 4 in Dallas gives us a look at how it's going for Southwest passengers this year.
It was dubbed the holiday meltdown, a cascade of bad weather and logistical problems that forced Southwest Airlines to cancel nearly 17,000 flights in the midst of last year's travel rush. 1 year later, the Department of Transportation announced a $140 million fine against the Dallas-based airline, the largest in the agency's history.
I think ultimately this is good PR for the Department of Transportation. This allows them to point to the fact that, hey, they are doing something in a big splashy way to benefit the consumer.
$35 million of that fine will go to the federal government. The rest of it, about $105 million, will go into a fund to compensate passengers in the event of future meltdowns. Southwest passengers at Love Field had mixed reviews.
I feel like Southwest was overfined for what happened. We have family that was stuck in that mess, and it was a big mess, but they were doing the best that they could.
I think it's probably spot on. That way, if it ever happens again, there's a little bit of security for the guest to say, or customer to say, hey, we fly Southwest, we know they're going to take care of us, they're going to make the situation right.
The airline called the fine a settlement, adding Southwest appreciates acknowledgement that it moved expeditiously to care for customers, learned from the event, and now can shift its entire focus to the future. Winter weather did play a part in the 2022 crisis, but it became much worse under the airline's outdated scheduling program, which left flight crews stranded and planes grounded while other airlines still were operating. Southwest paid out $700 million in reimbursements and refunds to passengers and posted a quarterly loss after the crisis. But the airline rebounded quickly with record-setting revenue from strong travel demand. In terms of who the winner is from the situation, Saglier argues it's the customer.
I think that the consumer is going to feel out of this that someone's looking out for them and that there are measures in place and a system in place to make sure that airlines or any travel brand is held accountable when they make a mistake.
All right. Well, are you hoping to buy a new home in the new year? A lot of people are. But new home sales actually plunged in November, with new homes being sold at a seasonally adjusted annual rate of $590,000. That's down 12.2% from October's revised rate. The sharpest drop was in the South and the West. The Midwest is actually seeing the strongest growth, with contract signings rising 25% from the month prior and up 52% from November of 2022. We know medical debt is a growing problem for so many people. It's actually the #1 reason that people end up filing for bankruptcy. And that inspired a woman who, just days before she died from cancer, made it her mission to help others. She started a fundraiser to pay off medical debt for other patients. And Fox's Sharon Crowley shows us how she did it.
Casey McIntyre died last week of ovarian cancer, and yet remarkably, even after her death, she's helping others. The 38-year-old wife and mother from Brooklyn set up a fundraising campaign set to start after her death. She posted to social media, quote, "To celebrate my life, I've arranged to buy up others' medical debt and then destroy the debt." She adds, "I am keenly aware that so many in our country don't have access to good care."
It's really heartbreaking and simultaneously heartwarming to think that someone was really at the end of their life, a young mother, really in the prime of her life, and to make the selfless decision.
Daniel Lampert is with the nonprofit RIP Medical Debt. He worked with Casey's husband to launch Casey's fundraising page on the RIP website. The organization buys medical debt from hospitals or collection agencies at a steep discount. The charity then gives financial relief to families living below the poverty line. He says Casey's already raised more than $500,000 in just 1 week. Donations that will help thousands of people.
It's taking off in a way that none of our campaigns really ever have. This is certainly the most any, sort of individual or group of individual donors have raised for us.
Mounting medical debt caught the attention of Reverend Melvin Wilson. In June, he encouraged members of the St. Matthew AME Church in Orange, New Jersey, to raise $15,000. The donation was used to eliminate more than $1 million of medical debt for more than 900 New Jersey families.
It is a huge problem in our country.
And Casey must have thought so too. Raising money to erase the debt of strangers, people she will never meet, just part of what makes Casey's legacy so special.
Love that story. Well, we hear all the time here at Fox 26 from renters that they have stopped paying their rent to try and get their landlords to fix ongoing problems. But not paying your rent can and often does lead to eviction instead, because legally there are steps that you must follow, and I'm going to go over those in a moment. But in the state of New York, the law actually allows tenants to withhold rent for repairs, but it does come with some other serious consequences. So for all of you that have fantasized about not paying rent for a lack of repairs, I want to share Michelle Ross's story with you so you can see what having a law like that might look like.
Deborah Metz hasn't paid rent on her Harlem apartment in more than 2 years. She's holding out until repairs are made.
Prior to the pandemic, we experienced, pretty long bouts of loss of hot water and loss of heat in the dead of winter. When the pandemic hit, things got worse, elevators were broken.
This sparked a robust rent strike and newly formed tenant association. But now that her landlord is reporting late rent payments to credit agencies, some have fallen off. She hasn't, and her credit has taken a major hit.
Think about 2 years worth of rent and what that would cost you, so that number is approximately what is being reported as debt owed.
The letter sent to tenants says, by making timely payments, you can see an increase in your credit score. Good credit is priceless. Now you can focus on reaching your goals like buying a home, a car, or getting approved for a credit card. Consumer law attorney Mary McCune says the problem here is that federal law says any entity can report late payments as long as it's done accurately. But New York state law says tenants have a right to withhold their rent.
Credit reporting agencies work on a federal, national basis. They don't necessarily know local law. So we find this conflict where a tenant may be exercising their right to withhold their rent in order to get repairs. And yet be reported for late payments.
The Rent Stabilization Association says it would not have gotten to this point if government worked efficiently.
More owners are doing it now because the city and the state have made it so hard for owners to do business in New York City with renters.
And the attorney representing these tenants says that there isn't really a legal solution to this, but that she would like to see both federal and state players come together to address this problem so that tenants don't have to decide between getting repairs done or having their credit score tanked. Reporting in Harlem, Michelle Ross, Fox 5 News.
And Fox 5 in New York says that they did contact the landlord, but they have not heard back. So just as a reminder, here in Texas, don't stop paying your rent for lack of repairs because you can be evicted. Instead, you want to request the repairs in writing and send it by certified mail. If they're not made in what's called a reasonable amount of time, if you don't owe rent, you can terminate the lease in writing and then get a refund for days that you won't be there. Or you can go to JP court to sue for the repair. The court can order the landlord to make the repair, reduce your rent from when you first asked for that repair, and award you damages of 1 month's rent plus $500, court costs and attorney's fees. JPs do hear these cases within 10 days, and you do not need an attorney to do this. Now, let's take a look at some of the stories that are making headlines in the consumer world as well. Honda is recalling millions of vehicles due to fuel pump issues. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says more than 2.5 million Honda and Acura models from 2017 to 2020 are included in this recall. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says the recall is due to an improperly molded part in the fuel pump. The agency says if it is faulty, the engine may not start or it could stall while you're driving. Honda says no crashes or injuries have been reported. The automaker says it will notify owners in February and make free repairs. And Navy Federal Credit Union faces a class action lawsuit alleging that the lender discriminated against Black and Latino applicants. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau reports that the credit union had a nearly 29% gap in approval rates between white and Black borrowers last year. Navy Federal denies the accusation, but has hired a leading civil rights attorney to assess the company's policies and practices. And I know a lot of you are thrifters, so you're going to love this next story. A Virginia woman made quite the purchase while thrifting. Take a look at this vase. She bought it for $3.99 at a Goodwill store outside of Richmond, Virginia. She brought it home, did a little research, found out it was made by the top Italian glass designer of the 20th century, and it just sold at auction for $107,000. Not a bad return. And while you might be starting to take down your holiday decorations, I found some great inspiration for you for next year, because we are going to go to Atlanta now, where 24 top designers showcase their holiday spirit in the Home for the Holidays Designer Show House, and they raise money for Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Fox's Paul Milliken takes us inside for a look around.
Decking the halls is a big job when those halls run through a 12,500 square foot home. And that's why more than 20 local designers pitched in to literally spruce up this year's Home for the Holidays Designer Show House.
You know, I thought the house originally was just beautiful. I couldn't imagine it being even better looking. And to see what these designers have done over the past 2 weeks just blows you away. They knocked out the park.
This is the 10th year for the Holiday Show House, presented by custom home builder Pradera Group and hosted by Atlanta Homes and Lifestyles. The idea here is simple.
It's basically a blank canvas for all the great designers here in Atlanta to showcase their design efforts.
And what a canvas! The $8.25 million East Chastain Park home gave designers like Whitney Durham plenty of space to work with, albeit in limited time.
We have probably a couple of months, so not very long, so it has to be executed pretty quickly.
Some designers started with a statement piece. For Justin Q. Williams, it was this wardrobe.
I saw it 2 years ago at a home show, and I thought, I have to use that in some project. I'm not quite sure where or when, but when the opportunity came, I made sure that I used it in this space.
Others, like Barbara Westbrook, found inspiration right outside the windows.
So I wanted to embrace the outside and some of the color palettes on the exterior of the house, the greens, some of the warm fall colors, and a little bit of lavender just for a special touch.
Perhaps the most special touch of all is the gift this show house will give to local families. It's open for tours through December 10th, and ticket sales benefit Children's Healthcare of Atlanta.
Pictures don't do it justice. You have to see it for yourself.
Paul Milliken, Fox 5 News.
And you know, we would love to showcase some of your beautiful and money-saving ideas in home decor here on the show. So if you have set out maybe a creative tablescape or some really great holiday decor, I want you to send me some photos or a short video. Just tell me a little bit about it. You can DM me on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. It's all Heather Sullivan, Fox 26, or email them to me at heather.sullivan@fox.com. We would love to share your great ideas with our viewers here on the show. And you know, I like to leave you with something funny. So a new study finds that pet parents spend big money on their furry friends, especially this year. While many tried to budget about $2,600 for their pets' needs, they ultimately spent nearly twice that, with the average pet parents spending $4,800 on their pets throughout the year. Okay, and the website Upworthy.com compiled a list of strange things that pets do. So here are a few. Dogs that have memorized commercials will run into the room when they hear it on TV. A dog that was scared of the kitchen floor, so the owners actually had to lay a carpet runner from the back door, from the edge of the carpet to the back door so that the dog could get out. And a cat that always watches the water go down the toilet when the owner flushes it. And another that loved to watch water boil on the stove. My cat likes to watch the automatic garage door go down. There's something for everybody. All right, that's our show. Thanks so much for joining us. You'll find more ways to save every day on Sullivan Smart Cents on Fox26Houston.com. And we'll see you in the new year here on Dollars and Cents.